One. What's going on, y'all? You listen to the Ruckus slash Tape Deck Hour. This your boy Cupid Mike, and today I have a guest right here. This is, I think it's safe to say, this has been long overdue for a
Yes.
long, long time. I've been following this young lady for a good minute. She got a lot going on, so I want to get into like her history and her background, everything that she's been going through right now. Um, she has a lot of dope content. She's Cuban. She's anti-communist. Um, it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on, man. I don't wanna, stress it all out because we got a lot going on and we got too much time. But ladies and gentlemen, I got Gaby Blanco in the building. What's going on, Gaby?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for the invite. It is long overdue. I'm
Yeah.
excited to be here.
All right. But before I continue on, guys, there's gonna be like a lot of laughing in the background because there's been a lot of shenanigans that's been going on. Like my internet's been a mess and a whole bunch of laughter and a lot been going on. That's why I want to. We'll probably do a behind the scenes thing going on because I think we should have like recorded our conversation before we even started because we had good
Yes.
content before that.
Yes.
Yeah. But give us a brief introduction of yourself, Gabby, because you could tell, you follow my content, so I always bring a bunch of Cubans here with a press story. So just tell us about yourself.
Yeah. So I moved here. I was born and raised in Havana, Cuba. I lived there until I was 23, almost 24.
Yeah.
Then I moved to the Cayman Islands. I was working as a waitress there for 5, 6 years. And then I moved here to the US in 2019. At the end of 2019, I was finally able to come because my dad and siblings are here. So I was finally able to reunite with them after a decade of being
Hmm.
apart, which is a whole other story. But moved to the US, came to Austin, Texas. That's where I live and work. I met my husband. We have two beautiful children. And I guess things started to turn for me, like we were discussing after July 11th and the protests that happened in 2021 in Cuba. I was never really involved in any politics at all. I have never been a public speaker at all. And so things just sort of developed that way after everything that happened in the country. A lot of people like myself finally started, realizing the importance of speaking up, especially if you're not there as well, not just leaving people on the inside the island who risked so much and who had to face everything they did to go on the streets and protest. So all that support from abroad, we were just so excited, and we thought that it was, Cuba's freedom was finally so close. And we took to social media and started talking to people and sharing and spreading the content. And well, that wasn't the time, unfortunately. Of course, that marked a before and after, and I do think there is no turning back
Yeah.
after everything that was set in motion that day. So after that, I just kind of got really passionate about politics and my country in a way that I never had before, and had never really affected me personally in many ways, although it did, but you don't really think about it. Like you're just so used to
Yeah.
your life there, right? That you just go with the flow, and you move abroad, and you're focused on making a living and making something out of yourself, and making up for all the time that you lost while being in a country that it's getting you nowhere and you cannot prosper. And so it was a great wake up call to just also be able to focus on that and remember where you come from, and that you should be trying to make an effort regardless of where you are, towards the freedom of your country. And so that's pretty much how that started. I had also simultaneously in 2021, my husband and I, he's a Gideon. He's a member of the Gideons International. So what that is a Christian men's group. And they basically have the goal of sharing the gospel and the word of God across the world. So they're the ones that actually put the little testaments, the small Bibles, in hotels and hospitals, and those little Bibles that you see. It's an initiative, from the Gideons International. And so with them, my husband and I had already started traveling the US sort of as testimony speakers, because they were so interested in his story and my story, him as a Venezuelan, me as a Cuban, our stories of faith. He was brought up Catholic. I was brought up in a completely atheist household, which happened to a lot of Cubans, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. Now that's going to lead to my next question, but continue, continue.
Yeah, so they were just very interested in our testimonies of faith and how we got together, and the church community we were building here, because my husband and I got really involved in our home church
Hmm.
from the beginning. And so it was just something I loved doing. I loved being able to travel and start talking to people about their reality in my country. And what happened was people had so many questions about specifically Cuba, more Cuba than Venezuela, because it's rare to see a Cuban in those spaces and talking about, you know, Christianity and talking about family life. And they had so many questions for me, and a lot of them were political and about my background. And as much as I love taking those questions, it wasn't really a space that allowed me to go into depth, in depth about, you know, the political situation and how everything happened. So I always felt, found myself wanting more and wanting the, you know, the space to be able to answer all those questions. And I was like, ah, if I could just sit with you for like 15 minutes and just talk to you about this, about politics, because people just didn't know and they were
Yeah.
so excited to know. And that's just kind of, and at the same time the July 11th thing was happening.
Yes.
And I just realized we are in a space in Texas where, and especially Austin, which is just such a liberal city, we don't have a lot of Cubans like you do in other cities. And so
Yes.
people just don't know. And I see that they want to know about our countries and about what's happening. And some of them have seen something on TV about some protests. And I just told Daniel, like, there has to be a way that I can talk to people about this a little bit more. And that's just in the context of my faith journey, which is just mine, but in the context of what's happening in my country and what we have to do. So I started looking online for the opportunities to do that. And so that's how I found the Dissident Project. And they are the nonprofit that I work with
Yeah.
today. They basically put people like me who fled totalitarian countries. We have people from China, from Venezuela, from North Korea, from Cuba, and they put people like me in touch with high school students. So basically, they just, you know, coordinate with the school at no cost to the school, and they send speakers to be able to share our personal experiences and tell them about, you know, how socialism, communism, how totalitarian policies ruined our countries and what that looks like in detail. And so I saw that and I was like, yeah, I would love to do this. I would love to do this. I had never spoken to kids before. I
Yeah.
had never, it was never something that I saw myself doing, like going to high schools and talking to students. And it has been so wonderful. So that's how that started. Me looking for a space to get a bit more political and a bit more specific about the politics and the policies behind everything that's happened in Cuba. And so that started last year, and it's been, yeah, it's been great. I've gotten to go to different states, and here in Texas as well I've been to several high schools, and that's sort of what we do. We talk to students in person, answer their questions. It's always fun and light, and they have the most, you know, the most unique questions because they just don't know and they want to know, and I love that. And then I've been trying to do that as well on social media a little, just
Yeah.
find a way to create that short form, entertaining content, I guess, that the younger audiences kind of follow.
Mhm.
I joined TikTok as well recently, which is something I swore I was never going to do. I always thought I was too old for TikTok, but it's been a great platform to engage with the younger American pro socialist, pro Marxist crowd, which they are all on TikTok, I swear. And
Yeah.
so it's been just a great platform to keep talking to kids. And I like to say and see it as a way of connecting the American audience with the Cuba situation, which I feel for the longest time there's been that disconnect.
Very,
Because
very.
as a Cuban, you know, you assume that everyone knows what your situation is.
Yep.
And here in Texas, I've spoken with so many people that have no clue. They have no clue. They have been lied to. They have read something. They had like a teacher has told them something different, or they just never heard of it in that way. And I could not believe it. And so I was like, there is such a need for you guys as the newer generation in the States to really connect and understand the history of the failed socialist policies that have affected our entire continent. This is not new. This is not just appearing in the United States. This has all been tried in different stages, in different countries. You must know about this. It's your continent, and there's this disconnect. And so I'm trying to close that gap. Pretty much is what I've been doing since I moved here, whether it's in person, whether it's on social media, just trying to bring that content that we as Latinos hear about and follow and know about so much, bring that to your regular high school American kid, to your regular Texan churchgoer that has no idea. Just closing that gap. It's kind of what I've been trying to do.
Awesome. Awesome. It's crazy because even pre-July 11th, I think I would even go further. Right around 2016, you were still in Cuba, but because I was stuck in my own little bubble, you would think that we're stuck in our own little bubble, our Cuban bubble. You would think because we leave a certain system that everybody knows about, like our pain and our struggle and our things that we had to go to get to this country. And then it was an eye opener because when Fidel Castro lied, there was this weird adoration I saw with him. Because I know the people didn't like him, but I was surprised. I saw this other audience that was just like, oh my God, this guy was just like the hero. He was resilient. He was a freedom fighter. He was this. And instead of like, I had people telling me, oh, you must be devastated that he died. I'm like, no, that's not the hell you talking about.
It's not the word that I would use.
That's not what happened. But then you have people that they're so invested in life. And the professor, I had Professor Amalia Dache on my show, and she said something that was very that she pointed out that he could do all these, like 90% could be bad, but then they'll focus on that 10% that he did that was good. So let's just focus on that 10% and just have this like adoration to him and have this love for him because he just did a little 10%. And like, no, none of it is good, especially if it's under 10%. So
yeah, and how they got to that 10% as well, because how did you manage to raise these stats or like improve this? Oh, you did it by stripping Cubans of every basic human right. Oh, you did it by stealing everything. People, oh, you did it. So no, it's not good, actually.
So and I mean even now we're living in these times when and this is when I say when people talk about white privilege and white privilege this, and when I hear Americans talking about, oh my God, I'm living in a dictatorship, I'm like, what you're doing right now? You're showing your American privilege because you have no idea what a dictatorship looks like. You don't know what it's like when somebody strips away something. What happened was your entitlement, you didn't get what you want, so now you're nagging at what you're getting for you're complaining. So you have this sense of entitlement. I need to have this, so because I didn't have it, I'm gonna talk about, oh my God, I'm oppressed. So now they're trying to sell you victimhood once you don't get what you want out of it. So that's been another
100%.
That's another thing that's been very interesting to these times we're living on. You say you came here in 2019, right?
Yeah, December 2019, so at the very end.
Yeah. So I gotta ask, how the hell your English got so good? Because my English sucks, and I don't even get to my Spanish.
It does not. No, we always knew that we had to leave Cuba. So my dad's side of the family, they were always so anti-government, and my dad had always made it clear to us, we have to leave this country if we have any hope of you guys having a better life and a better future. And so you should study English. And I kind of dictionaries and TV shows and music and whatnot, I started working on it. And then I moved into Cayman and working there for 5 years was big help because it's all English. And so that really kind of helped improve my English. And so this is what it looks like today.
Perfect. This is me now that I have to work on myself because I need to work on my Spanish again because my Spanish is a mess. Because I don't know how to speak Spanish. It's just a mess. That's all. It's just all over the place. Because I started.
It's a difficult language.
Oh, but I was so good. And I got so freaking Americanized. I got to go back. I got to come back home.
You got to go back. Practice makes perfect.
Yes. I got to do this again because boy, and I've done podcasts in Spanish, and then people interview me. Your Spanish is pretty good. I'm like, my head doesn't say it right now. Don't say
that's how I feel about my English too. I know I keep getting accused of being a Miami Cuban or being born in Miami. I'm like, that's actually a big compliment if you think about it, because I do not hear myself.
I thought I thought you were a Miami Cuban up to like a half an hour ago and had us read like a slick bio on your blog. So I'm like, oh, you're a Cuban. You lived through it.
People throw that left and right on social media as if it's some kind of insult. And they're like, you're
Yeah.
just a Miami Cuban. I'm like, I'm not, but I wish I would have
I'm
been.
telling you, I would love
Unfortunately,
to.
I had to be born and
No.
raised and spent most of my life, in these circumstances in Cuba. So I'm not in Miami. I love Miami though.
Yeah, I
I've
love
been.
Miami. Yeah, no, I
It's so
love
cool.
Miami. So no, so trust
Um,
me, it's not an insult. It's not
yeah,
an
for
insult.
sure.
So
But to your point of how people complain about having no rights and dictators over in countries like the U.S. or like the No Kings protests, so they'll
yeah,
complain about Donald Trump and overreach and all that. But then they'll turn around and find the good in systems like ours, right? And they will support for other people what they could never live under themselves, and they'll be then just happy seeing and pushing for a system where the smallest minority, which is a very small minority of corrupt government individuals, are then allowed to control every aspect of society for everyone else. And they are able to use that as leverage, because if you don't follow what they want you to follow, then you'll have no job, no house, no access to medicine, as we've seen. So then they'll be the today's liberal will be fine supporting those policies for other people,
yeah,
but then they'll complain about government overreach in whatever country, whatever
yeah,
capitalist country they live in. And
yeah.
it's just incredible to witness how they don't see it. They don't see the irony. And yeah.
You know, and not only that, when you live in that kind of system, it's like they don't only make your life miserable; they make your life and whoever you're affiliated miserable. So they'll do a good job to make sure that your family
Yeah, yeah.
like isolate themselves for you. They're like, hey, if you want to be a part of this, you gotta get rid of him right here. So that's
Yeah.
the good thing they do. They do a great job separating, families in that
That's
department, which
exactly that's exactly right. They rely on that, and they're counting on you to be afraid for your family even after you've left.
yeah,
And that's how they've managed to keep Cubans quiet for as long as they have, I think, because you've got family behind and they have jobs, whether they those never paid well, but they have jobs, they have
yeah,
lives, and they know they have your family hostage.
yeah.
And so they rely on the rest of you to be afraid and quiet, else they'll suffer the circumstances. And so, you know, uh, the
And
family thing is pretty crazy. That's actually my biggest motivation here. As soon as uh, while everything was happening with July 11th and then the Gideons and the public speaking, as my husband and I were becoming husband and wife and talking about family and kids, I got so passionate about that angle and that side of things, the family unit, and just thinking back on my own upbringing and how everything that our government did to the family and how that was the beginning of the end for us. Let's see, it's just such an incredible sad thing to see. It just reminds me of the importance of keeping the family together all the
all
time,
the
because
time,
Cubans unknowingly led the government into their family, right? So they allowed the government to feed their kids, teach their kids, clothe their kids, provide medical attention to their kids. So now they have all this leverage, and the government used that from day one to have everyone dependent on the state, and the family unit in Cuba is completely broken.
yeah.
And until we rebuild that, and until we are able to see the danger when there's any kind of organization in charge of every aspect of your kids' lives, and that's not you, this is the result. And it's incredibly sad, and that's the first thing that needs to be rebuilt, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And another thing they do a great job on like guilt trip the family that's over here to support the family they left behind over there too. That's another thing I really see because I know a lot of people are like, oh, I gotta send grandma money here. I gotta send my sister this. I gotta send clothes over there. I gotta send medicine. I gotta send food. I gotta, to keep them maintained or whatever the case may be. So it's like you said, they do a great job keeping everybody held hostage. They're pretty much
Yeah,
doing
they are
it's
held
bullshit.
hostage, and you feel terrible because you know that they rely on you in many ways, but at the same time, Cubans abroad have been through remittances they have been keeping, we as a whole have been keeping the dictatorship afloat
afloat.
for all these years. For all these years, remittances are one of the biggest sources of income of the Cuban dictatorship. And because exactly they hold our people hostage and they rely on you feeling guilty and you wanting to help. And it's one of their biggest sources of revenue.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
that's it's a crappy show. It's a crappy show. I want to
Yeah,
touch
that's
base.
why, yeah. Mhm.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
All right. No, I want to touch base on something because I got into a very intense argument with one of my friends, and he's a liberal, and he sent me something. Of course, what's going on with Venezuela. With the oil thing in Cuba. I won't stress that out, but we all know what's going on in that ordeal. So he's looking at me, and he's like, how do you feel? The American is doing this, and America's doing that, and Venezuela can't support Cuba, and it's like, I try to break it down to him that our issue is not a monetary economical thing, it's a political thing. But he was being a little bit too hard-headed because he was just being overly passionate with his cause. So maybe you can help me out with the case in your scenario. You left there in 2019. Was it more that you left because of an economical thing or a political thing?
It's it's really intertwined. I don't think you can separate the two
Yeah.
because everything is a result. Your entire life in Cuba is a result of the system that you're in. And whether you see it or not, or you're not thinking about it, which was the case for many of us, you think you want to leave because obviously the first thing in front of you is that you have no food or you're struggling, and then that's what you want to go. But when you step back and you look at it, of course, it's a result of the lack of political freedom that you have, of the lack of freedom of movement, of the lack of freedom of investment, trading, um, of the result of your, education, the conditions of your hospitals. So everything is one thing. There is one culprit, and that is the government. So
Yeah.
there is no migrating from a place like Cuba for just economical reasons. It
Yeah.
all comes together. Your
Yeah.
economical
And not
situation
and
is
not and not to say
another result.
yeah, sorry, not to interrupt you, but not to say that the economy doesn't play a part in it, but that's not the main reason why that is going on too. Because even if you do quote unquote the embargo, all that other stuff, you're still gonna have the same problem because they're still gonna control everything. So they're still gonna dictate how you eat, how you live, cook, all that
Yeah,
other stuff. So
exactly. Before I tell this all the time on social media when people try and use the embargo to show the Cuba situation is what it is. And I always say, look, before sanctions were introduced completely in 62, Cubans already had shortages of everything. We had shortages of fuel, we had lines for food, we had food rations. So we did not get here because of sanctions. Now, you don't have to convince, most Cubans are staunch supporters of capitalism and free trade, and we understand the benefit of that. And that's what we want for our country.
yeah,
Now, the reason we're not pushing for the embargo to be removed first is because we know that that isn't our real issue. We had all these issues before sanctions because the Cuban government is exclusively the one that doesn't let us, again, freely travel or trade or invest or fish in the ocean or sell our crops. It's not the US government. And
yeah,
our government has made it very clear that they never intend on our economy even partially capitalist. So they will never even partially give up control or even a portion of the economy. So, regardless of sanctions or not. So, all that to say, for anything to truly change, sanctions don't need to be removed. The Cuban dictatorship and the Cuban system need to be changed. Now,
yeah,
after that, of course, we all dream of a future for Cuba with no sanctions and free travel and free commerce and all of that. That is what we want. It's just we'll never get there as long as this system is in place. And that's where we need to start.
right,
So, yeah. And
yeah,
also, I feel a lot of people just quote the embargo and quote sanctions without ever actually knowing what those look like. Like sanctions only target government owned entities, not private citizens. The reason that I, as a Cuban citizen, couldn't be in Cuba and buy something and just have it shipped and set up my small business, it has nothing to do with the US. It has all to do with the Cuban government.
yeah.
So that's what we need to change. And everything else will follow. eventually. So I feel people love to quote the embargo, not knowing what that is and how much commerce there is between Cuba and the US. In last year, 2024, the US was Cuba's fourth largest economic supporter. Like most of our chicken comes from the US, most of our beans. So we do a lot of business with the US as much as we can afford. Now, Cuba is not offered credit by the United States and by many countries, including allies these days, because they just don't pay back.
Yeah.
And people, go figure, they do want to pay for what they sell. So it's it's an scapegoat that they use to try and show that it has been a success. That the socialist experiment in Cuba has been successful. They're just unfortunately, affected by sanctions, and that's not the case.
Yeah. Well, thank you for dropping the gems for my audience.
Yeah, it's easy to see. Everything works for the government officials. They have never lacked food, homes, luxury hotels. There's everything. There's luxury cars. There's a page on Instagram. I think it's called Autos Cuba. It's dedicated entirely to showing luxury cars in Cuba. We have everything. We have everything in Cuba. So somehow, if this is a blockade, as people call it, it's a pretty ineffective blockade, let's say. So everything is there. It's just not for the people.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I need to help me out with something because I remember there was a point in time they never let Cubans go to the tourist section. Is it still going on with the Cubans? They still can't go to the tourist section? Or
I don't know about today because I haven't been since 2019, but before, by the time I left, that had changed. So when I was growing up, you could not go to a hotel. You could not sit at a hotel restaurant. You could not go to certain beaches. So the beach, Varadero, they would have these sections that are, sectioned off because you as a Cuban national had no access. Even if you came with your own money, even if you wanted to enter a hotel and sit for a coffee, you could not do that. Yeah. Now that had changed by the time I left, but it's a pretty recent development. I don't know, I want to say 10, 15 years, because I do remember when that changed.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so you do have some more access, I'm guessing, these days as a Cuban national. Of course, it was never really the same. Tourists will always come first, right, to the dictatorship. They want their money. So every space has always been more open and more welcoming to the tourists because they come with money, not to the Cuban national. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So
it's a pretty weird thing to witness, being the last priority in your own country.
Yeah, it's insane. It's really, really insane. But it's funny, they go so hard to go against capitalism, but they invite anybody who gives them some kind of sense of capital to put money in their pockets. So again, the irony behind those two things is crazy. It's beyond crazy.
Of course. And all their kids, they own, like, the grandsons of Castro and of every minister. They all travel. Yeah. They own all sorts of restaurants and businesses in the island and outside. They'll have companies importing cigars. They'll go study in private universities all over the world. So it just makes you wonder if the Cuban system is so wonderful, if we've got the best education possible, like you've wanted to sell the world, why are all your kids, without exception, studying abroad, living abroad, having companies outside? I thought capitalism was bad. Oh, no, it's bad for the people, but not for you.
Not for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
The irony, man. So it's the thing, man, because, sometimes I feel like I've been like a broken record with the countless guests that I had on my show, but it's like you have to be a broken record because people still don't know what the heck's going on. Not only that, don't know what's going on, they still want to invest on the lie, support the lie, and still continue to tell the lie when the truth is right in their face. So it's like, what's the agenda you got there that you're so invested in this lie? It's ridiculous.
Exactly. They just want to keep that cycle going, and every few years it repeats itself. They tighten control. They stop issuing licenses for, like, the small businesses they sometimes let you have, so you feel a little more, free and in control. They'll let you have a small stand selling sodas or something. And then they'll start issuing licenses at some point, and then people start getting bolder, people start making money, then they close those down again. And so it's that cycle. And sometimes they'll put out a statement like, oh, we're open to foreign investments. If you're a Cuban and you're abroad, we welcome you back. Like, come invest, your investment is safe. And people still doing that. You'll see Cubans and nationals from other countries, they'll go invest, they'll go, purchase a house, they'll set up a restaurant, they'll do renovations, they'll pay for a license. And then they're all shocked when 6 months down the line, you're either not allowed to open or the government came in and took everything from you. And people take to social media like, can you please help me put this out? Like, can you help me spread the word? I'm being robbed. And the rest of us are like, they've been doing this for 60 years. How crazy are you to put any kind of money or any kind of resource in that economy with that government where nothing ever belongs to you and you've got no avenue for complaining or suing or defending yourself or securing your investment? Why would you do that? Why would you think that it's different this time?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And it's the people like that pushing for that to happen. All the paid supporters that you see in other countries that have no idea. Many of them have never even been to Cuba. You'll see them in protests. You'll see them here at the capital of Texas, which is in Austin. You'll see them at the White House protesting, for hands off Venezuela now or hands off Cuba. And you're like, we don't want hands off Cuba. We want our country back. Like, we need all hands on deck if we can get them. It doesn't affect them.
I've been to those protests and I've participated with it for our side. And I don't even take those guys even seriously anymore. They're all a bunch of hippies that don't even shower. So it's like, why even bother going after them? They stink.
Yeah, and none of them are Venezuelan, none of them are Cuban.
No,
they're just paid
white liberal hippies.
See, who have way too much time off. If you start questioning them, at least you would think they're kind of familiar with the situation. They can't even answer the most basic questions, like what are you protesting exactly? What type of law? Did you know that this exists? Like, the embargo says X, Y, Z, and they're like, just hands off Cuba. That's all I can say. That's it. This is all I've got. And that's why it's so important to do the counter to counter that and to go out and, I know we're busy. I always say the rest of us are not as, we don't have the amount of free time these people have, right? We're not getting paid to show up. We have to work. We've got lives. We've got dreams and things we're doing and families. But we have to somehow find the time to even do this, put out a conversation, talk to people, show up at a protest if you can. And so, because your average American needs to know where the truth is. And it's our duty to help them see that, because they have no other way of knowing. A lot of people are just unaware and uneducated about things. And we all assume, again, that the world knows our situation, that it's so obvious. It isn't, not to them, because the Cuban government has done such an amazing job at selling this lie to the world for so many years. And they have so many supporters across the world that, again, have never seen the truth, but this is people pushing, whether they're being paid or they're just useful idiots that believe in figures like Castro and Che Guevara. And so we need to counter that. We need to be vocal and start countering that and be like, this is actually not what that looks like. This is the truth. So I am seeing a shift, though, after July 11th, and with the amount of people and support that people are showing for the Cuban freedom cause. Everything that's happened with Venezuela, everything that is happening with Venezuela, we are all very much excited and following that situation closely. And I don't think we've ever been this close to a real change in our region when it comes to removing, again, one of the longest running dictatorships in our continent at this point, which is Venezuela, because they're almost going on 30 years at this time. And they've shown that, people can protest, people can vote. They have voted, they have shown up, they have shown the world that they want to be free, and they can't, and they need a hand. And hopefully that's what we're starting to see, and we'll see what comes out of that. But at the very least, the international support that the Venezuelan cause is getting is amazing, and we're very happy to see it with Maria Corina winning the Nobel Prize and
Yes,
all that. That's
yes,
just
yes.
such a big slap
Major.
on the socialist agenda that they had pushing worldwide. You can see a shift in that trend and that support. I don't think 5 years ago that would have even been a possibility. Like
Mm-mm.
the Nobel Committee actually giving a Nobel Prize to an outspoken opposition leader, like an anti-socialist, that would have never happened, and it's
Never.
happening now. So hopefully, I'm also starting to see some celebrities in Hollywood and all that starting to speak up about certain things that are socialist, anti-Marxist, and you would have never seen that a few years back.
Yeah, look,
There
listen.
was too much at stake.
Nicki Minaj, the turning point, which is something I never thought I would see in a million years. And I'm not a fan of turning point or the political views or the case may be, but
Hmm.
the fact that she took that step to go to the opposing side and show how she
Yeah,
feels, because she talked about Christian values and talked about other stuff that she feels as though she got values, whatever the case may be. Even though you question her
right.
entertainment skills or people who she's
Right.
married to, whatever, there's something about it that she feel like I feel a certain way about this. After she
Yeah.
went and spoke to the issues going on in Nigeria, and
Yes.
even with that, I mean, it took a lot. It's been a
Yeah.
weird thing because a lot of people turned on her, but then all of a sudden she got like 200,000 more followers
Followers. Yeah.
on X.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot. And I think more people is going to be more unspoken on what's going on with the issues because it's like you're not going to, it's like we talked about the COVID thing behind the scene. You just can't be bullying people and say, you need to do this. And if you don't do this, we're going to
Yeah.
just stomp on you. People are fighting back. And the fun
The
thing
fight
about
back.
it, the people that becomes real aggressors, once you fight back and swing back, they'll just let go. That's all you have to do. Just let go.
Yeah.
Because all they
Yeah.
do is like this. It's like the pump fake. It's like they act like they're going to hit you, but anyway, they're going to hit you.
Right. They're not.
So you
They're
go get
relying on you to
somebody,
be scared. Yeah.
yeah. And then once you
Yeah.
push back and punch them in the face, it's like this, or okay, 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 we'll leave it alone. So
Yeah.
that's all I do right
Yeah.
now. It's all just
They
as
just
aggressive
rely
as gets.
on threatening your status, I
Yeah,
guess, and your follower count and the opportunities that you may have work wise.
yeah,
But it's so refreshing to see celebrities and people that have a lot to lose actually
yeah.
just not caring anymore and saying, look, this is what I think. I recently saw 50 Cent. I'm not sure if you follow him. I'm sure you do, but 50 Cent. I love his account. He's really funny.
Yeah.
And he also posted something. He retweeted something that Donald Trump Jr. said about him, and he's always really funny. And
Uh, yeah.
he also posted some stuff disagreeing with Mamdani before he was about to be elected in New York City, and so that type of thing, whether it's in jest or not, you would have never seen that before.
Yeah.
And it's so refreshing to see all these celebrities just kind of coming and saying, "This is what I think about this.
Yeah.
This is funny or listen, and you deal with it if you don't like it." So I expect that we see more of that.
Yeah,
And
it's gonna be
yeah,
more of that. So it's gonna be baby steps, and I mean, there's people that feel a certain thing behind the scenes, but they don't want to like ruin their career, which I also get also. But I think they're gonna say, "Yo, I had enough because this is morally for me. This is not right." So I get it.
yeah,
I get it. And there's more respect for that because you're more the underdog, and
yeah.
somebody, no matter what, is gonna like agree with you and rock with you. So that's the thing that's cool besides
Right.
just letting alone.
And you have
It's
to take that chance earlier rather than later, because in countries like ours, that's what happened. A lot of people went along. A lot of people did support the revolution. Of course, he did have, unfortunately, the majority of support, and people loved and idolized Castro and his people, especially in our grandparents' generation,
yeah,
which was crazy to see. And a lot of people still do in that generation. But for the rest of the people that were kind of in between that didn't care, they just went along with that. They
yeah.
just
That's
went
one.
along because you didn't want to face the consequences and be without a job, and everything started escalating. So whereas before you would have had, people look at you funny, or you exchange words, or you maybe risk a promotion, if you let that type of pressure and society and government overreach to take over your life, one day it's not going to be your promotion in the line. It's going to be your job. It's going to be your freedom. You're going to go to jail. Like, you have to put a stop to that when you see that type of overreach from anyone and that type of pressure
Mhm.
to speak a certain way. So it's better that we do. It's better that you do it sooner rather than later.
Yep, 100%.
Um, for
So.
sure. Yeah. Have
Yeah.
you been to Cuba at all? No, you haven't.
No, no, I came close. You know what's funny? I came close before COVID because I was with my ex-wife
Mm,
at the time. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just go see it because what I got to lose. It's been this, then a third, and then boom, COVID hit. Other things that happened in my life that I couldn't go, but COVID played a major part in it. Then it was like,
right.
okay, was watching the news and saying Q, which is not going through anything. As much as they promote like the medicine is the third, they were like, oh no, we don't have anything right now to save you guys. So a lot of y'all gonna die. And
It's yeah.
so they pretty much told you to your face, yeah, we don't have what you think we have. We're only gonna take care of the people in the upper level and people in the lower level. You figure it out. You better call your American family or something because we don't got it. And that
Yeah.
put a halt. And then the following year came July 11th. So I'm like, oh no, I'm definitely not gonna
No,
go
I'm
in.
definitely not.
Definitely not gonna
Yeah,
go.
I think July 11th and COVID, um, before then, it really opened a lot of people's eyes, myself included, to the dangers of visiting a place like Cuba, which have always been there.
Yeah,
But maybe they were not as obvious, and we also didn't have social media like we have it now. But when you travel to a place like Cuba, you are really at the mercy of the government for everything. And so, if they decide to not let you travel out, if you somehow see yourself involved in any kind of legal situation and they just want to keep you there without a right to a lawyer or a fair trial, if you get into any small accident, if you get sick and they have no antibiotics, there is nothing for pain, there is nothing at all.
yeah,
We've started to see after COVID especially how that can look and how families have been affected by the family that went on vacation and now the kid has the simplest but ear infection and there is nothing to treat your baby, and
yeah.
now you are panicking and you're going through this nightmare over something so small, and people are starting to realize I should not be traveling, unfortunately, to a place like Cuba where I have no conditions and no rights to
Yeah.
to do anything pretty much. So it's also very difficult, almost impossible to travel to a country like Cuba and not support with your money, the Cuban government, because they own everything, everything, everything. So we're hoping for a change soon so we can all freely visit and not have these things be an issue.
Yeah, cross fingers that department. Like I said, I never been there because once my parents left, they said we're not going back till things change. So that it became that movie, and then I'm like, is it ever gonna? This is before all this stuff happened. I'm like, is
Yeah.
it ever gonna change? And then they were like, first it was like when I was a kid, yes, it's gonna change. Then I was a teenager, it was like, well, I don't know. As I got older, I'm like, I don't even know anymore. Something, whatever. They still their hands in
Well,
the air, say
I think
whatever.
we're I
Oh,
think we're
okay, you're not
closer
going.
than ever. I think we're closer than ever now to seeing a change. And I think that could potentially be via Venezuela and everything that's happening there. Because they are propping the Cuban government up in many ways, through oil and all these things. So, we're very much looking forward to a regime change in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And we're very much looking forward to seeing how that can translate to our own situation in our country.
The thing about this, I know we're all looking at Venezuela, and hopefully we could be next. But the problem, not the problem, what I'm hoping is that we don't just put our hands in our pocket and be like, well, let's hope America handles it, or America does some kind of miracle. Because the problem with them to us, I think one of the things that we did, we keep relying on other countries to fight our battle, and we've done a terrible job in that department. Because this is the same conversation we had in the late '90s when the Soviet Union fell. When the Soviet Union fell, it was like, well, now it's going to happen. Now it's really going to fall, and it kept going. Then came in '94 when the second coming came. Oh, now it's really gonna fall because now things.
Yeah.
Then you were in Cuba, but in 2006 when Fidel got sick, he was like, oh, now it's really gonna happen. But when he's gonna sick, then he died, and then he died. Oh, now it's really gonna.
Yeah.
And,
And
and
then Bay of Pigs, all the
oh,
way back. They're like,
how can
oh,
I? Yeah,
now is the time.
now is the time. And we just,
Yeah.
we keep we're talking out of like we're like people from like the audience, like from a stand base, hoping that like America does something or somebody else can fight the battle, and they're like, no, we have to do this. We have to go and like keep putting the foot in the people's neck. Not only us, the people in Cuba got to do their part, and keep protesting and keep fighting the
Yeah.
good fight, be resilient because just 2 weeks ago there was a protest out there, and I was like kind of out of tune with what's going on because I just had to shut off from the internet world. But who called me? Somebody called me. They're like, oh, they're back in the streets again. And then the internet went off. Then once the internet went off, they turned it back on. they got their rice and water, and they went back to the regular scheduled program. So that's the
Yeah,
thing that gets a little bit annoying because it's like, no, I don't want my rice. I want you guys to leave.
yeah.
So
And
then,
they know, the government knows exactly how to calm everything
yeah,
down when there's a protest. They're like, just bring a truck, with water. Just
yeah,
bring a little bit more food. Just give them a little extra power. And then people are so desperate for even these basic things that they'll obviously get distracted. And look, we see it all the time on social media. Like, you guys are outside. You don't know. You have no right to demand people in the island do the things you never did, right?
mhm,
But at the end of the day, you are in there. It is only going to be up to you and no one else
well,
to overthrow this government at some point. Yes, with outside help. Yes, hopefully with the help of whoever wants to help us, right? But at the end of the day, it's us. And I
yeah,
think that's something that the Venezuelan people have gotten right. And they still have that fight in them, which I am in such awe. And it just surprises me all the time in the best way. I really admire they still have that.
yeah,
It also hasn't been that long for us. How many years?
yeah,
They really took the fight out of most Cubans, but Venezuelans are still showing up. They're still showing up to vote. You have large protests, and they are backing Maria Corina, and hopefully with the outside help, they'll be willing to make that change. But it's going to be up to us. I completely agree. No one is coming to save us but ourselves.
myself.
It's no one's responsibility to come and save us. We got ourselves into this situation. I always say we have
Yeah,
stayed in this situation because of all of us. We have decided to stay in this situation because the consequences have been dreadful of going against that system. And I'm not trying to downplay that in any way. You were and you are risking your life by going against the Cuban government. But if we don't do that as a country, we're never going to see a change.
no,
Relying on the US, Donald Trump, whatever, it's never going to work in that way.
no,
So if anything, that can be some extra support. But hopefully we can take some inspiration from what's happening in Venezuela and from Venezuelans and the way they are fighting back and ready, just getting ready to support the cause they're fighting for if it comes down to it. And hopefully we can do the same
yeah.
at some
So
point.
let's cross fingers on that. Let's cross fingers and hopefully make it happen.
Yes.
Um, I,
Pray.
I want to touch on something because I I find it very interesting that you became like, because I know people played a big part in it. How you convert yourself from being like a full-blown atheist to like finding Jesus? What was that dynamic in that part? Because I like from one extreme, and you go to this section. I don't know if you went. I don't know how extreme are you with your religion, but you went to that extreme because I know that's what you teach with Cuba, because religion in Cuba is a no-no. So how you went from that to that to finding Christ?
I still don't really know. I think it was honestly the Holy Spirit. I always felt that I was never alone when I was in Cuba as a kid. Let's say that's how I felt. It was a very taboo thing in my household to have even mentioned, let's say, God, or the fact that I had started praying to God quietly since I was a kid. But I never told anyone because I knew my family, and I knew that as much as they loved me and as much as they're good people, they would have thought that I was kind of crazy. So I never shared that with the world. After I became an adult, I started getting involved in church, and especially in Cayman. That's when that first happened. But it was more about the sense of community and giving back to the community and wanting to help people, and volunteering my time to make a positive impact, I guess, in the community. It was kind of about that, and not about having a relationship with God, or knowing who Jesus was. And after it was only after I moved here to Austin, Texas, and met my husband. Again, he was brought up Catholic. He wasn't really a churchgoer at the time, but we had talked about faith on and off, and I had a bunch of questions and doubts, and I was still very adamant about, well, I don't know if there's a God. So I don't know. Um, and he would just keep asking, so what are you praying to? Like, why are you? And I was like, I don't know. Don't ask me all these questions. I don't want to think about it. And eventually we were talking about finding a church and maybe getting some of those questions answered, because we knew that we wanted to raise our kids, in the faith and the Christian faith. And I had no idea what that really looks like for me. But we got into a small car accident in 2021, and I was driving. That was a crazy day.
Women
And
drivers.
so then I know he
Women
keeps telling
drivers.
me, because
Yeah.
I always tell him, you better drive slow. Okay, you're not doing it right. Like, careful. And he always tells me, so who's actually been in a car accident?
Yeah.
It's me. He's
Yeah,
like, woman,
you.
stop telling me. I've
Yeah.
never been in an accident. You, on the other
Yeah,
hand,
yeah.
it was a crazy thing. We were just driving on the road, and I was driving. He was having lunch next to me. We were actually on the way to sign the contract for what would be our first home
Hmm.
at the time. So we're excited, and as I'm driving, I didn't notice that the light in front of me had turned red, so I ran into the pickup truck in front of me. But it was only like their tail light was damaged, and one of our side mirror. It wasn't a huge thing, but I was very scared. So as I got out of the car, and he gets out of the car to now deal with insurance and all that, the couple that's standing there, this is a busy highway, right? So, and it's like an elderly couple, like, and I was like, oh my gosh, they're gonna start screaming at me. This is terrible. I just damaged their nice looking brand new pickup truck. And as I get out of the car, I'm just apologizing, right? I'm so sorry this happened. I didn't see the light turn red. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And the gentleman was just standing there holding two little testaments. And he just said, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. It looks minor. I don't want you to worry. We're going to figure it out. Do you have a home church by any chance? And I was like, what? And my husband is there with like the insurance info, like, I'm sorry, what? Where's all the yelling? Where's all the screaming?
Yeah.
And the man just kept saying, I don't know if you know about Jesus, but we would love to have you. I'd love to give this to you. And if you have no plans this Sunday, we would love to come have you join us at church. So Daniel, my husband, was working that Sunday, but I just kept thinking about that encounter. And I said, I'm the most careful driver. I'm the most careful driver. And somehow this happened to me. And we've been talking about going to church and whatnot. And then this happened. He just started sharing the gospel with us on the side of the busy highway. I'm going to join them at church by myself. And
Okay.
then I did. I just decided to go. I decided to go, and I sat with them, and their names are Sam and Linda, and we sat with their kids and grandkids. And it was a great experience. So Daniel joined me the week after that, and we started going. And long story short, a few months later, we formally accepted Jesus, as our savior, and that was incredible. And that was the start of getting some of those questions answered, and just at least that journey. And that's pretty much how I started going to church.
Yeah.
It was a little wild, but it's been such a perfect way for things to happen, for me at least, because I'm a very inquisitive person, and I still am that person that has the question, that person that, you know, it's going to ask the uncomfortable question at church, and that is not just going to settle with oh, this is how we things are type of thing. So it's just been incredible, the acceptance that I have had in the church community in Austin, and the people that we've met, the community that we have, they're family. They're pretty much family. We actually got married at the home of Sam and Linda's daughter that same year. It was just incredible. And they are one of our closest friends still. And I don't know, I just started, reading my Bible. After that, I joined Bible studies and women's group. And my husband and I started going to small groups. And we just started to grow in our Christian faith, and decided that we definitely wanted to strengthen our faith, to strengthen our marriage, and for our kids to be raised in that way. And it also really showed me the power that removing religion and God from the Cuban society, the impact that
Yeah.
that had in our country. And hopefully we can get that back. Not because people have to believe in God. Again, it's a personal choice, but forcefully removing faith from a society has had such detrimental effects on our people. And, the Cuban people have no hope. We are a hopeless society today, and that's something that Venezuelans have not let go of. And they believe in their God. They have their faith. They know that the state and this president they have today, it's not the ultimate authority. It's not their God, and they have not lost that, and we did, and we have to get it back. So hopefully we will.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
If you get a chance to, there was an episode I had a clip, which guys, before I forget, one thing with Gabby too, like I got this thing called, I'm calling it right now. I got this thing called, like, I'm calling it my Cuban Mike Instagram street team. Because every time I post a video on, I make sure that Gabby be the first one to get tagged between Gabby, Jar and Kiel and Grecia. Like those are like my street team. So every time I post a video, yo, do me a favor, you'll post this up right here because it's vital. It's very important. It's crazy out here in Boston.
I'm
So
so thankful for that. I don't know how I got grouped with these wonderful people that do such great work, but I'm very, very grateful.
we watch each other. That's the thing. We all watch each other. We all keep an eye on who's saying what and who's doing what, or what the case may be. And the fun thing about it, like at first, everybody was very welcoming. Um, right after July 11th, but then after we stop being passionate, and then we see what's what, we see people's like have other agendas. They're not really for it like that. They're pushing something else, or they're trying to cause division, or we get infiltrated. It's like now you have to really prove what are you doing and what are you doing to represent the cause, and are you really like about to change, or you just trying to like play us. So um sorry to sidetrack that, but
Yeah.
I had a there was a the video I tagged you in where I had one of my friends on the show, and she talked about when she was in food, they talked about Castro, and they told him that Fidel Castro was a freedom fighter for people, and that he was Robin Hood and stole from the rigs, kept from the poor, whatever kid it be. If you get a chance to check the full episode, but there was a part of the story, she was kind of similar to you in that department, being that she was a full-blown atheist. Like she was a full-blown atheist, communist. Prior to that, she was very involved with the church for that because her parents are religious also. But then something happened to her throughout her life where she got really rebellious. She started thinking negative, and she thought the world wasn't nothing, and it was a very hopeless mentality. But then she went through a weird metamorphosis, and she ended up being a born again Catholic. She found Jesus. She became heavily conservative. Um, and we
I'll
became
watch the full thing. Yeah.
yeah, so it's very interesting that you told me that story, and it's somewhat parallels to what he kind of went through. I mean, your thing was kind of choice because you were in Cuba, and Cuba again teaching that religion is a no-no, but she did that by choice, that because she was being a rebel, and she was just not happy within herself. She was a sad person. She wasn't happy with life, and she just figured, this is just hope. Life is hopeless. But she went to other personal things in her life and be like, you know what? There is a light after the tunnel, and there is positivity.
Right.
There are people that love you. I need to learn how to
Yeah.
like, have this self, not I need to stop having this self-hate within myself and try to be close to the Lord and be more spiritually involved with Jesus. So I could, give that love and pray it forward. So it's very interesting. That
Amazing. Amazing.
it's
Every
very
conversion story is it's amazing and it's compelling. It's
yeah. So it's crazy.
yeah.
You told me about the story about the car. And even how we met was kind of crazy too, because I met over me arguing with somebody. It was a political debate on something, and she just saw the debate from afar, and she just went and defended me. She's like, you know what? You're not from this man's community, so you shouldn't talk about things that you don't know. Your job is to listen. And
My,
she just came. It was like a weird angel. She was like, you know
you're
what?
like, thank you.
She like,
You tell them.
yeah, yeah, and she's not even Cuban. So that was the thing. She was just a person from Massachusetts that she was looking from afar and be like, no, my man, you're wrong, and you need to do this to the young man because he knows
Mm.
what he's talking about. So I'm like, thanks.
What she said.
Yeah, exactly what she said. So
That's
he,
amazing.
he was a
No,
nutty.
yeah, your content is amazing.
Yeah, he was a nutty communist. So that's for another conversation.
Yeah.
So I want to forward something because I try to do some half-ass journalism. So when my half-ass journalism, I read something about your father, how he was able to escape. And you know what? I should have asked him in the beginning, but I never got a chance to because we just been all over the place, and that's what I do on my podcast. I don't ask organized questions.
I
I just
love it.
I
No
ask one
scripts.
question. No, I'm very very sporadic on that podcast. I ask you a question, then like I ask you like 6 questions later. I'm like, I should have asked this question. It should be my first question, but no, I'm all
Ask
over the place.
away.
Yeah. So this is a two-part question, but I'll go with the first one here. First of all, how what was your story coming to Cuba? Was it like the lotto thing, or you guys had like a game plan that had to leave at 2 o'clock in the morning, or it was like
No, it wasn't
you
anything,
you guys
that brave or
you
that.
did, so you didn't have to build a refrigerator with a sofa and sail away.
No, it was just regular, boring family reunification story for me. I was very privileged in that way.
Yeah.
My dad has been here for I think 13 years now, a little bit more. So he has been here with my siblings,
Okay.
and he's the one that sponsored me to come here. I
Oh.
was not able to come with them when they first came because I was an adult over 21 already at the time. And so you're not part of the same family reunification process if you're considered an adult. So he had to come here first, and then he sponsored me as a daughter over 21 to join them. And so it was his family reunification. And
Oh.
he came through his um, wife's family. So family reunification as well. My
Okay.
dad worked in Bolivia for 5 years and then Peru for a few years. And then they were finally able to, save money and come here through the wife's process, let's say.
Yeah.
So for my family, it's been a pretty uninteresting story of how we came to the US. Or yeah, we've been very blessed because most Cubans have had to get very creative, like,
Very
to and risk
creative.
their lives, and many have not even made it.
Yeah.
So we are every day we wake up grateful, not just for being here in the first place, but even for the circumstances that brought us here, which we've had it easy compared to a lot of people. And that's why we're trying to do what we can with that. My dad is a very outspoken against the Cuban government, and very, even way before I was. So I draw inspiration from him all the time when it comes to that. No matter what your previous circumstances were, how you managed to get here, you are here, and you should do your very best with the platform that you have, whether that's small or large, to, for your people to not have to continue to go through what they've been going through.
Yes.
So yeah.
That that
But we
that
we are here. We managed to reunite after a decade. I didn't see my siblings, my brother, my sister, in 10 years, nine something years.
wow.
Oh, a lifetime. Yeah, it's that. I always say we don't hate communists enough. When you look back at what you've lost and the moments that you and your family have lost, and what you've missed out on, you spend 10 years apart as children. You reunite as adults. It's never the same. You know what I mean? It's you grow up separately. You missed out
Yeah.
on so much. And whenever I think about it, it just makes me angry that we were forced to go through that. And luckily we did, because we're not there, and we get a chance, an actual chance at a good life because of those sacrifices. But it is the biggest sacrifice that you can make. You leave your family behind, you never see them again.
Yeah.
It's not an easy thing to do. So we need to, yeah, change that and fight back.
And I want to go back because this part I didn't know. So you were 21. So what, after like you hit a certain age, they can't sponsor you as like a package deal when like the daddies, because you don't hit a
Correct.
certain.
There are different immigration categories.
Yeah.
So your minor children are actually considered part of your household. So if you are being sponsored to come to the US, let's say it would be your household, which is you, your wife, and your children, your minor children. If you have any children that are over 21, they are considered an adult. So that's a different household,
Oh,
let's say.
damn.
And so, yeah. So,
Damn.
and if you want
Ah.
to sponsor them, then you have to be here. You have to become a resident first. You have to show your affidavit. You have to make yourself responsible for them, which I do get. And then you have to start that process.
Wow.
So it took a
Ugh.
long time. Yeah. But, we never considered doing it any other way. So I was not going to be, coming through. We wanted to do things the legal way, to just wait for that process.
Yeah.
And it did take, like, my process alone took 6 years to happen.
Okay.
So
It's pretty quick.
plus everything else. 6, yeah, it's still quick compared to what many people wait.
Yeah, years, yeah,
So
decades, damn near decades.
yes.
So yeah, like
So
you got blessed in that department, real blessed.
yeah, it's still a long time to be away from your family. Plus every like all the other time and the years that add up. But it is what it is, and it's another reason why we need to change the situation back home. A lot of people blame the US immigration system for everything we've been through and the separation and the time apart. And I always say, listen, we are blessed that this country even opened its doors in the first place and allowed us to do something like that and reunite. No one is to blame for the Cuban separation, like family separation crisis, but our government. It's
Yeah,
not the US immigration system. If that's backed up, if it's slow, if it's fast, that isn't, that's not
and
why that's not our issue.
yeah, the system is broken. The system is broken. There's no way to get around it. It's broken. It needs to be fixed, but they don't want to fix it, and that's for another conversation. Because
Right.
I
Yeah.
know a lot of people that are going through that right now, and then like like I
Yeah.
just said, people waited decades and a half to
Yeah.
like
But I
get
mean,
anything
but
going.
the reason we even have to go through that process in the first place is because our country and the situation that we have. Otherwise, we would not be needing to do that. We would
Yeah,
not be needing for the Cuban families to migrate separately. And then maybe, if you're lucky, reunite decades later.
yeah,
So if we're pushing for change, we need to be pushing for change in our country, in our system, because
yeah,
people are very bold to come online and complain about the US system and the US
yeah,
immigration system. And then I'm like, that's fair, but also as a Cuban, do you have anything to say about the Cuban immigration system that
yeah.
got us into this mess? Because
And yeah, man, and it's not even that. You could forget about Cuba for a second. If you have other countries that got to their own little problems or whatever, and there's a reason why they come there. So I know America did their nonsense, thinking they knows in their business and other people's another country's shenanigans. But the problem that people don't want to admit or even have a conversation about, like once America left and left these countries alone, like these countries said, we're gonna fix what they did and make it better, and they never did. They made it more worse, or they just thought, how can we be as evil? Whatever evil thing America did, let's do what they did, but even better, and oppress our own people. So that's the part that we're going to
yeah,
talk about. That's the reason why we're here in the first place. And other countries got even stricter rules. Like from what I've read on Mexico, they have way stricter rules when it comes to like immigration and legal
yes,
process. They're way worse, and
yes,
and no one wants to talk about it. No one wants to talk about it.
right. Oh yeah,
And I again,
it's very difficult for a Cuban to go to Mexico. It's
very
very
difficult,
difficult.
very
They're
difficult.
very very strict
Yeah,
with their border, with their southern border. They're
yeah.
so strict, so it's always a little bit
And
funny
they've
to
done
see.
and they've done their fair share of deportation themselves going back to Cuba. They've done it.
Oh, plenty. Yeah, plenty.
Yeah.
People have been deported. They go through great lengths to even be able to get into Mexico. And they're not playing around with immigration. So it's
No.
always funny to see how vocal they are about their northern border and all the restrictions with the US. And it's like, your restrictions are worse
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of us. But okay, it's a lot easier for many Cubans to even come to the US than it is to go to Mexico.
Yeah.
So what are we
I,
talking about?
and the other irony too, like I've seen videos online with Mexican protests and they don't want other Latins in their country. That's the other thing I find that no one talks about. Like I've seen protests, they say they don't want anybody from Honduras or
Correct.
especially from Central America. They don't want anybody from Central America
Yeah.
coming up here. Like it's full. We don't
Yeah.
care if you speak Spanish or what. We've seen it,
Yeah.
and no one wants to talk about it.
That's yeah.
And and I find it very interesting too how they talk about how America is like the most racist, the most oppressed, but no other person in the world wants to come, no other place but here. They all want to come here
Yeah.
as a president.
Yeah.
So I
And
find it,
Latinas, we know how much we push our own people out. And we know what discrimination really looks like in our
oh yeah,
continent between one country and the other one. So
yeah,
any Latinos that I see online complaining about how racist or discriminatory the US system is, I find it a bit hypocritical knowing that your own people or your next door neighbor, your other country, like that you have borders with, they're either the same or worse.
yeah.
And they also not even making an effort to take you in. They're not giving you the welcoming that the United States is giving you.
Oh
So
no,
you've got some
no.
nerve going out and saying that this is the most racist. Would you really want to move to the most racist country in the world? No
Oh,
one would be lining up to not just come in, but to stay.
Yeah.
And you see with all the protests and all the anti-ICE um, just pushback that you're seeing, it must not be so bad that people are desperate to stay.
Just yeah. Yeah.
So if it's a good place and you love it and you're thriving here and you want to stay, you should be coming out and saying that.
Yeah.
It's instead of pretending that it's this evil place that you somehow want to stay in.
They understand that you're the most evil thing
Yeah,
in the world, but
it's
don't kick me out.
please don't kick me out.
Don't
It's
kick me
like
out. Look, I like to be in a place of evil. Please, I beg of you.
exactly,
It's
exactly.
insane.
So
It's
yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Don't worry. I hope I'm
Well,
not boring you here because
no, you're fine. You're fine. I will have to go soon though, because my
yeah.
babies need I don't know if I told you, but I have a 3 week old.
Oh,
I,
congratulations!
thank you. I have
You
a
ain't even showing your
toddler.
pregnant belly. Look at that.
I know. I have a almost a 2 year old, and then we have a 3 week old. So we've got our hands full, but it's
Okay.
fun.
All right.
There's just not a lot of sleep involved.
All right. So I'll get you out of here. I got three more questions. We're gonna get you out of here.
Go for it.
All right. Question number one. We talked about this earlier on, but you've been doing a lot of speaking engagements, to different states and different, areas of this country. Have you gone to like other places of the world too, or just been strictly to the states?
Just to the States doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the like? Can you speak to my audience? Like, what led to that, and what has been the result? Have you seen people's like different reaction and changes since you've been doing these speaking engagements?
I think so. I love this. I love to go to high schools and talk to kids directly first. One, because it's a different experience than going on social media and seeing some video and potentially people are scrolling or not scrolling. Like you've got a person in front of you. If you're a young student, you mean well, you're trying to change the world, you want to make a meaningful impact, you've read a thing or two, and you're kind of playing around with the idea that maybe Marxism is not so bad in theory, it just hasn't been applied well. And you have all these influences getting to you. And then now you've got this real person that came from one of these countries that is actually being open and nice and to you and opening just open with their experiences, let's say. And now you get a chance to ask the questions that you've always wanted to ask. And kids are always really sweet. And their questions are always, at least in my experience so far, they are genuine. And you can see that there's a lot of genuine good intentions, let's say, in a lot of these kids. And they are wanting to improve their state, their country, their society. It's just some of them are looking for answers in the wrong place. And that's where we come in. So I have seen the good in conversation and in dialogue when it's face to face. And we don't get a lot of that in today's world that it's so, with consumed by technology.
Yeah.
So I think they do appreciate that, having someone there talking about this type of thing. And it's not very common. So I can always see that they are excited and listening. And I'm guessing they don't hear a lot of speeches against socialism and Marxism at their school. And
Mhm.
they don't see a lot of that. So in my experience, it's been wonderful. And I hope many more schools are wanting to hear from people from countries like ours that have actually lived through these things and that are able to come with a genuine intention of helping or at least offering a different perspective. Like, I know what you've heard and I know what you've seen online. Let me offer you what I've lived through and let me sort of show you what this kind of looks like when it was applied. And then obviously you can make your own judgment after that. But I always see such a good just response to our stories in schools, and the fact that schools want to have us back year after year, whether it's a different speaker or the same one, but I always see a good response. So
Let's
that's
let
been great.
let's see if we could get you here in Boston sometime next year. We can make something
Yeah,
happen, make a couple of calls because we need to have this kind of educational thing for the kids. So let's see if we
I
could
would love
like
that. If you have any, yeah,
let's
if
see
you know
like
any teachers, any board members, again, we come to schools at no cost to the school,
yeah.
and we'll just answer questions that the kids may have, and it's always a fun time.
Yeah, let's see if we can make something happen. Two more questions before we get you out of here. This
Yeah.
this is this is two questions I always ask all the Cubans before I get them out of here.
Ooh, go for it.
July 11, where were you and what was the reaction?
So I was actually on Lake Travis in Austin. We were going on a boat with all of our friends, and I'll never forget
Cubans with
because
boats, I tell you, man. Cubans with boats.
I will never. I'm telling you, we're good swimmers. We're strong swimmers too.
Yeah,
I will never forget because I just could not focus. I did not. I was on my phone,
yeah,
and people kept saying, "You have to get up. Why are you on your phone? Like, what are you doing?" And my husband was there, and I just could not believe what was happening. I was like, "I need to get off this boat. I need like proper internet." There's a protest. I have never seen that in my country, not to this magnitude. This is groundbreaking. And we were just all sharing and posting and sharing and talking to one another. Are you seeing this? And trying to get a hold of your family. And the internet was down, and people didn't know what was going on, like the family that I have there, because they don't have access to information like we do on real time.
yeah,
And so it was just a lot. I didn't sleep for days. Like this first week, I'm sure you were the same. We were like posting and sharing and waking up in the middle of the night, like, what's happening? Are we free yet?
yeah,
So it felt so refreshing to have that hope that we've never had. And that's what I was doing. And it marked a before and an after
yeah.
July
Ironic,
11th.
ironically enough, out of all places, I was actually in Florida when that happened because I was on my little vacation tip or whatever. And
Oh,
when
wow. That
and
was the
I
place to be.
Yeah, I was in Florida. I was in Fort Lauderdale, and then I was sleeping, and I just woke up, and then like I was watching the news, and like breaking news, there's a big protest going on in Cuba, and this and the third, and I'm like, holy crap! And it kept like it was one of those things. It was showing every 15 minutes, every 15 minutes, every 15 minutes on the local news, and then it went from that. And then you had all the Cubans in Versailles, and then Calle Ocho protested, and showing solidarity. I called my mom up north. I'm like, "Yo, are you watching this?" And she's like, "Yes, I'm watching on YouTube." Like everybody was just sitting there and being intense. So just the fact I was able to be at the heart of it, it was just like overwhelming for me or whatever. And then I'm going online and I don't know what happened in that department, but I like the first time ever, like I'm seeing all Cubans. I'm like, I don't recall having that many Cuban friends on Instagram for whatever reason. It would get coming on my Instagram of all these Cubans talking and saying their part. So I guess my algorithm was popping up and saying like, if you're interested in
Yeah.
this, take a look at that. So I'm like, oh, this is major. This is major.
Yeah.
And it was something that finally
Yeah.
like lit a fuse. So now we got some kind of
Yeah.
momentum going. So it's a wonderful thing. And
We have to keep it going.
keep it
Yes.
going. And final question, the $50,000 question I always tell people, do you think we're finally going to see a free Cuba?
Yes. We
Yeah,
will see a free Cuba, and it's closer than it's ever been. I know it's been a long time coming, and it feels a lot of days, it feels like we're getting nowhere, but we are getting places. We see it in their policy changes, and we see them desperate, trying to come up with ways to capture those US dollars that are, escaping them. And we see them just scrambling for their lives and seeing what else can they do to keep that regime afloat now that most Cubans have woken up and
yeah,
they don't have remittances like they used to. They don't have tourism like they used to. They don't have the worldwide support like they used to from other countries and the donations like they used to. And they are desperate. And they see what's happening in Venezuela and they see what's happening everywhere. And so we just have to keep it going. Even if it looks like nothing is changing, it is. We are going to see a free Cuba sooner rather than later.
thank you. That's what's up. Yeah,
Yeah,
and before I get out of here, I think the worst thing that the Cuban people, the Cuban government has right now, their worst enemy right now is the internet. Because they didn't even know that the internet could be so powerful, and we have this little thing on our phone that could able to record and show what was going on. So that's what they no
100%.
longer had the truth. So yes,
A hundred
God,
percent.
thank
Yeah.
God for the internet. So Gabby, thank you. Long overdue. 100,
Thank
100, thank you.
you.
Hopefully we do this again near the future. Do
Yes,
one more episode, and we
we
keep the talking
will.
going. Probably do a live or
We
something on Instagram
will.
or TikTok. So I'm trying to get something going with the rest of the Cuban kids and so we could get something going here,
Let's
man.
do it. Let's
But
do
yes,
it. And if you're ever in Austin, I'll be here. We'll connect and
how
we'll do
how
one of these soon.
how far is Austin from Dallas?
It's 2.5 hours. It's not that far. That's not that. Hey, in Texas is around the corner.
All right. We'll talk. We'll talk
If
on
you're
that.
ever planning a trip to Dallas, let me know and we can plan a weekend up there
I bet
and
we'll
we'll
make it
meet up.
happen. No doubt.
All right.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Ruckus Tape Deck Hour. Make you catch me here every Friday from 6 to 7. I'll catch you next time here, same tape deck time, same tape deck channel. Precoa, Gabby, 100 thank yous. I'll catch you on Instagram.
Thank you.
Yes.
Talk to you soon.
Yes.
Bye.